There's one space I absolutely love, and that's the online education space, because almost all of the questions that you have, somebody else has the answer to. And you've probably seen this happen in real time, especially due to like the C thing. Like online education is exploding. People are tired of learning from people who have not done what they're teaching to do. Like professors are the perfect example of that. Colleges cost way too much. It's putting people in debt. It's crippling their future, literally, to get them something that is worth zero. Um, and the whole like online education space, the way I kind of got framed into my mind, because I invest a lot into myself. I have so many coaches, so many masterminds I'm a part of, and it's the best thing I ever did for my entire life. And the way they kind of framed it to me was like, okay, you're not getting them to invest in you. You're not getting them to invest into the program, the coaching, the education, or whatever it might be. You're getting them to invest into themselves. You're getting them to draw a line in the sand and be like, okay, I'm actually going to put skin in the game, and this is where my life will change, period.
Guys, we have a huge guest today, Jake Sharpe, first guest of the channel, big get, okay? So I consider myself a YouTube talent scout, and I've found some channels like way early, like in the thousands of subscribers, and they're in the millions now. So it's like if I was able to invest in those people, like I'd be uber rich right now. So I found Jake, Crypto Twitter, on YouTube. We have the same sort of circles, I would say. Super fast talker, which to me that means high IQ. He's given out all kinds of free information on the internet for free. I've consumed a ton of his content. I can tell he's a genuine guy. Jake, welcome to the show. Tell me about who you are. Kind of just give me your bio.
Yep. Appreciate you taking the time to have me on. So, high level overview. I kind of got into entrepreneurship at 17. Before 17, I was kind of a full-time gamer. My mom was an alcoholic, so I had a very rough childhood. But now she's not an alcoholic anymore. I absolutely love the woman, but I had a very rough childhood kind of growing up. I didn't have a father figure because my dad was gone in the military all the time. So I'm very deep into masculinity stuff and discipline stuff because I kind of had to mold myself into a man, because otherwise I would not be anywhere near where I am right now. I'm kind of semi-retired at 25, meaning that my investments generate enough cash so that I never have to work ever again. I work because I want to, not because I need to. And that's kind of the semi-retired thing. I seem to have coined. I mean, I knew it before I ever started doing videos. But essentially, the first kind of... I started doing some stuff on the internet first. That didn't make any real money. Then I started a nightlife company with my ex-business partner. We did a bunch of stuff together. The nightlife company was actually a really, really good experience because we used to organize events for like 700 to like 3,000 people. We would organize it with like the biggest artists in the country. One of those events, like the last one we did, actually went bankrupt. That put me like 50,000 euros in debt, zero a month coming in. Put me into the roughest period of my entire life. I literally crawled up into a fetus position. Every night I crawled myself to sleep and I would wake up with debt collectors knocking on my door trying to sell everything I have. And from that point, I did door-to-door, cold calling, kind of doing everything I could. We started a marketing agency from that point because we had marketing skills and we were like, okay, let's just sell these skills because that's the best way to make money. We're never going to do it with a 9 to 5 or we're going to be paying debts for like the next 15 years of our life. And we've always had massive ambition. So I would wake up at 4 a.m. I would go to the beach. I would speak literally affirmations into myself and kind of talk myself into psychosis because otherwise I would just kill myself, offline myself for the algorithm. But yeah, after that, marketing agency went well. We started working with e-com clients. We started doing ROAS deals. And then after that, we just kind of... I noticed this crypto thing, end of 2019. We had a marketing client, 2017-ish, where we kind of got this first glimpse into crypto. I didn't take it serious at that point, but I was like, this is going to be very big. And end of 2019, it's kind of when all of my signals went off and I went full-time crypto. I dropped everything else. We worked with existing clients. We didn't take any new clients in. And things just went exponential from there. So I hit the semi-retired mark 1 year after starting crypto. That's been like a year and a half ago now. And crypto is the future. I mean, I'm full-time crypto now. It's all I do. It's all I eat. It's all I breathe. It's all I think about. And I think a lot of more business owners should do the same thing because all of the revenue that you generate in your business, it's getting eaten away by invisible taxes, also called inflation. You're getting taxed on it. You're getting... I mean, if you hold the days of saving and buying real estate are over. I work with a couple of real estate millionaires. All of them are going into crypto. The real estate is no longer the answer. Stocks are no longer the answer. It's a very corrupt market. Crypto is the only way out if you do it truly correctly, which he definitely knows because we're in the same circles. And yeah, I just see crypto as the way out and focusing on that massively and having a business that generates cash flow and then taking that into crypto, that's the holy grail. And especially going into the recession, or in my opinion, we're already in the recession, this is the play that could potentially generate generational wealth.
I can't agree more. There's a lot to unpack there. So I actually didn't know about your mother. So, and I actually didn't know how much you struggled as a child. So, tell me about that. Not having a father figure in the house. When you were going through school, I can imagine there's situations where you needed that. And when you reflect on that, how hard was that, and how did that make you the man you are today?
That's a good question, man. So the thing, because I started reading books at 17, and there was one book where they kind of talked about the Spartans. And like at 16, I wasn't a man at all. I was like a boy. Everything would kind of hurt me. I was extremely sensitive. And I knew that was never going to get me to where I wanted to get to, because my mom would do literally everything for me. She would fold my clothes. She would cook my food. I never had this like feeling of independence. So I started training MMA at 16. And that was a kind of my rite of passage to become a man. Because in MMA, everything is on you. If you make a mistake, you get your ass handed to you. If you screw up, you tap, you lose. And this whole like fighting game, that's also why I'm so heavy into fighting. I don't train competitively anymore, but I used to be a competition fighter. Man, that was like my passage into masculinity, and that kind of gave me my confidence. That's when I started doing business, sales, all of this stuff.
You're surrounded by warriors, right? I mean, these guys, obviously, you're out there, it's not to fight to the death, but, you're fighting each other in a controlled manner, right? So you're sort of like harnessing their energy, right? When you're in that environment.
100%. I think the biggest thing, and Andrew Tate was kind of the one that really put this to the forefront, is just this: as a man, if you want to really level up, you need a brotherhood. You need other men around you that are striving to do better, and not necessarily to lean on, but just like the way he put it was actually very smart, and I was like, that makes so much sense, because you would feel it when you would go into competition with your team. Is whenever you put a group of men together, you all of a sudden get so much confidence, because back in the day, in the medieval times, if you put a group of men together, you were probably going to charge at something or conquer something. And that feeling is still there biologically. So I think a brotherhood is massive. I think if you're surrounded by losers, people who have no ambition, or women all the time, that's when their killing instinct as a man just dies. Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, my first kind of intro to that was like organized sports, right? So, a lot of young men have organized sports, and if you have the right coach who is that kind of father figure instilling toughness, and it just kind of like breeds each other within the team, then you have a lot of success together, you have a brotherhood, and it kind of just like parlays later in life. So like, I'm a big sort of believer in organized sports or MMA or any of that kind of stuff, where it just like gets men together, young men who can look to a mentor of sort just to have some toughness, right? Because I think it's totally lacking in our society. It's just toughness. Everything is just like handed to you, and if you fail, it's like everybody comes to your aid. It's like, no, you need to fail. You need to fail down, and then you have to build yourself back up. So that's just totally lost in our society. Everything is just such patty cake, and it's just a bunch of losers out there breeding losers. So it's like, we need winners, right? We need more winners, and we need to lift the winners up in our society. That's in my opinion.
Dude, I agree 100%. There was somebody I talked to, he kind of put it in a way where he said, we're living in the lost boys generation. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's a massive difference between boys and men. Like, I think I kind of turned from a boy into a man, like 18, 19. And, like, when I look at old pictures, it's just like that person has died. Like, it's that crazy. Like, if you go into these high-level circles, they would actually do these exercises where you would go to, like, a heavy training camp, and then you would literally have a body bag, and you would bury it, and that body bag that you bury would be your old identity. And you would essentially kill off your old self to kind of step into the new self. Yeah. So I'm very deep into this stuff. Yeah, and I think you have to do that if you had like not the best upbringing. If you had an amazing upbringing, amazing parents that like teach you everything, discipline, toughness, man, hats off to you. But a lot of us are not in that situation.
Sure. So what was a time in your formidable years where you struggled? Maybe you got knocked down, beat up, where you were at your lowest, and then you kind of just crawled out of the hole. Like, was there a moment for you in your childhood when that happened?
Define childhood. What age range?
I mean, you said you became a man at like 17. Like, any time before that, middle school, is there something that, triggered, or maybe you had a father figure somewhere else on TV or in, through your social circles?
Yeah, that's That's actually very interesting. So I actually wanted to start fighting because of three main events. Uh, I kind of had like two different stepdads that kind of beat me up and beat my mom up, and I kind of wanted to fight them. And I think I kind of had this boy to man moment when my stepdad was trying to pick a fight with me, and that was after like I think 6 months of training MMA. And he started hitting me, and I threw him against the closet, and I started ground and pounding him, and he started giving up, and I was like, "Yo, shit." And that's when all of the beating stopped. And I was like, what the hell just happened?
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a massive, massive, massive breakthrough moment for me. I think that's when the old self died, the new self came in. Then also, second like breakthrough events I kind of had is I kind of got bullied in school. I was always kind of the class clown. And after school, I don't remember how old I was. I think like 15 or 16. I walked out of school with my girlfriend. Lord knows how I got her. She was actually kind of hot. I think she was just thrown on my lap by a friend, because I had zero game. And we kind of walked outside of school, and we went to like the corner of the school, and all of a sudden like four guys came up to us. I was like on my bike. She was walking next to me, and all of a sudden they started like punching me and kicking me off of my bike out of nowhere. And then they started talking to my girlfriend and stuff like that, and I was completely frozen in panic. Like I could literally not move. I did not know what to do. And then they started like almost like hitting my girlfriend, and I couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, other people came in, and at that point, I had this conversation with myself in like my room after everything, and I was like, "Yo, if I did not do anything, they could have literally like the R word aped my girlfriend right there in front of me, and I was not man enough to handle myself." That was like a mental breakthrough moment where I need to know how to fight, period.
Yeah.
And that's when
there's
got
something primal
there
about protecting your own woman, right? And children. So, yeah, I can
100%.
see where that'd be a big wake-up call. So let's kind of transition there. I mean, obviously, if you had stepdads beating on you, I mean, that's traumatic. Like, that's not something that you want to live in, but I think it helped mold you, obviously. It made you realize you're going to have to protect yourself. And if the people that are closest to you are not going to be able to protect you, rather beat on you, like you're going to have to become a man. It's like a survival, right? Like, I'm sure it's traumatic, but I hope that it sort of molded you into the man that you are today. So, I mean, do you harvest that? Do you still have that anger, or have you channeled it into being successful? Like, how does that affect your life today?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So I've kind of learned this from like a 9-figure entrepreneur, and he was very deep into energy work, not like the spiritual side of it, but like light and dark energy and how you have to use it to motivate yourself. So light energy comes from a place of I want to make the world better, I want to impact people, I want to improve lives. It's like very pure, clean energy. But then in moments where you really have to push yourself and you have to be extremely disciplined and you have to do hard stuff that you haven't done before, that's usually what you need, like a burst of energy, and that's where the dark stuff comes in. So the dark stuff is like your competitors. The dark stuff could be people who laughed at you when you were younger. Like I literally have a folder on Google Drive where like all the people who doubted me and were kicking me when I was down. And whenever I need like that dark energy boost, I watch the pictures and I'm like, I'm gonna. And like the way David Goggins says it, I like it so much. Is he essentially says it, I'm gonna take their soul with my success. Like that kind of very dark, intense energy. But if you operate from that place of dark energy all the time, you become very, very exhausted because it's extremely intense.
Right.
So you kind of have to balance it too. In periods where you have to like just push and put extreme amount of hours in or whatever like that, then you tap into the dark energy, but then you have to step back into the pure energy because otherwise it's just sprints instead of consistency. So I was kind of taught this idea of light and dark energy. So you kind of have to harness both. I think about the stepdads. I think about like people beating me and almost like outing my girlfriend. And that's like very dark energy, and that really pushes you when you feel like procrastinating.
For sure. I was listening to one of Alex, was it Hermanos or
Hormozi? I love Hormozi. Yes,
Hormozi. I was listening to one of his talks last night, and he mentioned something about how he bombed like some sort of pitch or something in front of an audience, and it was very traumatic for him. But he said that trauma is actually like an area of hyper learning. So if you can realize I'm going through trauma at the moment, your body is hyper learning because it doesn't want to go through that again, right? So you subconsciously almost pick those cues up to avoid that in the future. So I thought that was very interesting.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's go into your professional life. Obviously, you said you were kind of a hustler from the early days into sales, marketing, and starting your own conferences and stuff like that. I want to hear definitely kind of like your successes, but I want to hear some of your failures too. Like, because you don't get better without failing, because you have to learn, right, as you progress. So let's hear about kind of your first intro to business and how you either lost your first dollar or made a first dollar.
I think my first dollar actually came from because I knew I wanted to do the internet thing. I wanted to do something online. I think I made my first dollar from affiliate marketing. I was writing blogs and stuff like that, and then you refer out to like affiliate products and stuff like that. I think that's how I made my first dollar actually. So when people mention like the CPA days and affiliate stuff, like I know all of it. It's a very interesting world. So that's kind of how I made my first dollar. But then I think the biggest failure I had was a nightlife company. And after the nightlife company, because the whole business model just sucks. I hate it. The only reason I would start like a nightlife events company again is literally just for lifestyle going to the future and not as a profit kind of business.
So when you say lifestyle, what do you mean by what's the brand? What's the hook?
Yeah. So essentially, the cool thing about having a nightlife business is that you're very well known in your city. Everybody kind of knows you. You're the host of these events. My social life was here and my money thing was like over here, on the low point. Because the way kind of events work, you have to, let's say, put like 40K up front. Then you maybe make like 50K during the event. I remember us having to have like 32 people on staff during the event. So it's actually a very stressful thing. Mm-hmm. So let's say 40K to set up the event, to do all of the prepays of everything, pay all the artists, because otherwise they don't show up. And then you generate like 50 to 60K during the event. And then you kind of have to pay like taxes and everything on that. So every event for like 800 to 900 people would only generate like $7,000-ish in profit. And then you would spend like 3 months preparing for it. It didn't take a long time, but you still have to like spend the time preparing for it. There's all of these unknowns, and then with the security, you have to carry people out, and people are always ready to fight at the end of the events, and it's such a huge ass mess. Well, after a while, I was like, okay, I hate these types of businesses. I don't believe in brick and mortar anymore. So that's why I was like very deep into this online business stuff, because I realized at a very young age where the thing that doesn't matter is revenue, because we saw a lot of revenue come in. The thing that actually matters is profit.
Sure.
So I'd rather run a $100,000 a month business at 80% margins than $1 million a month business at 10% margins. And this is what you see with a lot of these econ guys.
Yeah.
Lots of revenue, very low net profit.
Sure. It's kind of hard to scale like physical people and places. So, I mean, so when you say lifestyle, are these like, what takes place at the event? Like, what do you sell on these people?
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily conferences. It was just like nightlife events. These festivals that people would organize? Mm-hmm. You have like different ones for different cities. Like Tomorrowland is like the biggest example I could find. But essentially we would do these type of things, but then locally in our home country, in our kind of 2 cities. And that's how we do it. That's kind of my first business. Okay. And it taught me a lot. Yeah.
So what's your biggest lesson? What's your biggest takeaway? Obviously it wasn't for you, but you didn't lose money, right?
During the events, no. But then on the last event that went bankrupt, where the company went bankrupt, yes. So we had one event, and there was some, like, how do you say it? Serendipitous, but in a bad way, events happening before the event, where we still decided to launch our event. We didn't sell enough tickets, so we had to cancel the event, because otherwise we couldn't fund anything. But we still had the contracts with the artists. So one artist was like 25,000 euros. The other artist was like 18,000 euros. And we were just like, we just came out of school. We barely had any money. We had like $0 a month coming in. Every once in a while, I would go work in a nightclub as a bartender to kind of put some cash flow back into the business. And that went bankrupt. So we had to pay all of these contracts off. And that's when we started the marketing agency to do like a high cash flow service style business that you can actually scale a little bit. And that's how we actually paid it off. It took us like a year-ish. And that was a great feeling. But that's the point where I was just crying myself to sleep, because we didn't know what to do. Because we knew if we just had a normal job, man, we're screwed. We're fucked.
Right.
Essentially.
You needed money fast.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about the marketing business. What kind of products were you selling? How did you scale it? How did you sell it?
Yep. So essentially I like Hormozy because he makes this very simple. Essentially all a business is you reach out to people, you get in front of people, a certain percentage of people are interested, and then you hop on a call with those people, and then, if they're interested, you work together. If not, cool. So I kind of realized this very early on. So I actually, because I didn't know anything about like online lead generation, we would do door-to-door sales. I would actually go to different cities and like knock on local businesses and kind of like to sell myself that way. We did local businesses first, and we did their marketing. So we ran Facebook ads for them, like the whole like SMMA thing, you know. Then after a while, working with local businesses, we actually switched to e-com, and we did return on ad spend deals, meaning that we would take a percentage of the revenue that we generate for e-com clients. And that's a lot more scalable of a model, but you also need a lot more advanced advertising skill sets. But that was like the next level of that agency thing. And then I just kind of took everything from there and just rolled it into crypto, and then that's when it came over rather quickly.
Got it. So yes, I mean, you that's a span of what, like 5 years, 6 years?
I think we started the agency when I was 21. Yeah, 2021-ish. And then we did that for 3 years-ish, and then I went into crypto, like end of 2019. I think that adds up.
We'll definitely get into crypto. But yeah, that's a pretty quick, from broke to, you know, getting into crypto. That's a pretty quick transition.
0 to hero.
That's right.
I mean, there's people that even do it faster than me, man. I feel slow. It's pretty crazy, man, nowadays.
It's hard to live life comparing yourself to others, right?
Yes.
Or looking back at the past and saying like, oh, if I would have just changed this one decision, I wouldn't be in this position. I think Trump said something like that. People said like, is there a decision that you would look back on and change? And he said, absolutely not. You can't focus on the past because it'll just eat you up inside. So all you have is the future, and it's like you learn from the past and you just go to the future, right? Like, so that was a big one for me.
I like that.
And so I'm always correcting my wife. She's always bringing up the past, and I said, you can't think about that. Like it was a bad decision. You got to learn from it and move on. So I've got some quotes here that I was going through some of your shorts, and I thought some of these were pretty profound. I think you may have lifted some of these, but I definitely agree. So like you said in one short, you said you have to respect people. And you mentioned the garbage man, and I'm like 100%, because the world doesn't work without a garbage man. The world doesn't work without a busboy, and the world loves to shit on these people. But it's like, these are the people that you need to go out of your way and say like, thank you for your service. Like, I appreciate what you do, because he's out there hustling to do better for himself instead of just like sit around and wait for a handout. So I don't know, dive into that quote, kind of why you said it and why it's so important.
Yes. So the reason I said it is because I got pissed off at some people. These like, this is so common nowadays on Instagram. Like these Forex traders and these drop shippers and like, oh, yo, look at all of the money I'm making. They're just scamming people. Like I see the back end of these guys. Like the Forex guys, they're literally just scamming people. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
And they were essentially talking about like everybody that works a 9 to 5 is stupid and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, this pisses me off, because I worked a 9 to 5. I had 2 jobs. I was working in a casino and a nightclub. That didn't mean I was a loser. So I kind of go into this idea of like intention matters a lot. So if somebody is a garbage man, but he's putting food on the table for his family and his kids and his wife, and he's actually doing stuff as he's being a man and he's taking care of stuff, I don't care if somebody is a garbage man as long as they're looking to improve their life. If you're a garbage man and you don't see yourself as anything more than that, and you're like, I just do the garbage man and I have no ambition and stuff like that, okay, then you can classify yourself as a loser. But if you're just doing it for a period of time because you need the cash flow to do something better or to invest into yourself, that's different. That's a man. A man just needs to do what needs to get done, no matter what. Like one of my ex-business partners, he worked at McDonald's to generate cash for something that we were doing. And I was like, that's commendable, man. Because I was like, okay, we need a little bit of money. Next day, he was working at McDonald's.
Sure.
And I was like, this is why he's my business partner, man.
It's taking action right there.
Yes, exactly. And he just didn't care what anybody thought about them. He was always like in the mindset of, and he taught me this, of like, just do whatever you need to do. Who cares what anybody thinks? Everybody's going to ask you questions 5 years from now how you did it. But then if you're going to tell them, hey, I worked at McDonald's to generate cash, do X, Y, Z, and then take it that way, nobody's going to believe you anyway. Yeah, it's interesting. But that whole thing, yeah, I hate it when people disrespect 9 to 5s.
Yeah.
It's always these online kids,
It's a good point. There's a distinction, because like some people, they're working a job, but they don't have that horizon where they just say like, this is it. I'm going to be the garbage man for the rest of my life. I can see where that, you kind of lose yourself. But there's still no reason to shit on that person, because he's still going out there every single day, collecting garbage, coming home smelling like shit, just to put food on the table for his family. I think that's commendable, like from just a primal standpoint. And, maybe not everybody has that ambition. I mean, maybe we're not all destined to be entrepreneurs or super uber successful. Maybe we just need garbage man. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we overlook it, and I don't think we give those people the props they deserve. I saw the quote and I was like 100%. Like that's what's wrong. That's one thing that's wrong with our society, is that we look down upon those people. And they might be the next big thing. It's just like, they may need some ambition. They may need some people to inspire them. It just takes that. So the next quote that you said was giving. So I thought this was a good one too, because Alex is big on the giving. I mean, he's literally giving away like some of the best information on the internet, in my opinion. So like giving with like no expectations of return. So like, how has that affected you? And does it make you a more authentic, more sort of well-rounded person, like spiritually and emotionally, to just give?
Yeah, it's like this whole giving thing. Have you read the book Reality Transurfing?
I have not read that book.
Okay, so in the book they talk about whatever you put out comes back. Like it's a book about quantum physics, not necessarily all of this hippie woo stuff. So for my software engineer brain, because before I did business I was a software engineer, it actually makes a lot of sense, because a combination of like quantum physics, science put into one, and then you do the exercises, and you might do my life went exponential after reading that book. But they talk about this idea that whatever you put out comes back. Life is a mirror. So let's say you're standing in front of a mirror and you're angry. You're in the state of anger, and you're looking into a mirror. The mirror is going to reflect anger back. But then a lot of people try to get angry and angry and angry and angry at the situation. But then the mirror just gets angry and angry because it's just a reflection of what's in front of it. So the only way to break the anger is by changing your energetic state into a state of abundance, and into a state of happiness, joy, blissfulness, whatever it might be, and then the mirror changes. Only by changing what is in front, you change what reflects back. So kind of understanding that, you kind of get into this like give without expectations, because when you give people good information and you give value and you give good energy, like good energy is so hard to find nowadays. That's why like one of the most often comments I kind of get on my YouTube is like, I love your energy. Like, what the hell does that even mean? And that's like people like positive energy is massive. So if you give positive, you get positive. And when you give without expectation, you kind of create this reciprocity effect with everybody. Like if somebody just gives you something without any expectation, you're like, wait, how can I pay you back?
Catch?
Yes,
am I in
exactly.
a mousetrap right now?
Yep. So I like that a lot. And also that kind of comes into like, once you kind of start making money, you will be extremely surprised how hard it is to give people stuff, because people just don't accept it. And if you give somebody something and they're not open or accepting to it, they will actually build anger towards you, because they feel like you're how do you say it?
You're like showering down on them, like you're just like flexing on them or something.
Yes, exactly. So it's actually extremely hard to actually give money once you have money. You're like, okay, take $5,000. Oh, it's going to be a lot harder than you realize, and that friendship is probably ruined unless you frame it correctly. So I learned this from like Rakam Rishal. Is like massive in like the Pulse community, and he basically said this because he's a billionaire, and whenever he gives money, he's like, okay, I'm giving you this money out of the kindness of my heart. I don't expect anything back. I don't expect anything in return. This is not a loan. I don't expect anything. This is the only time I'm going to be doing this. But here's money. I believe in you, and that's it. Don't ask me. Don't thank me. Don't do anything. And that's like the only way he's found to give people money without ruining the relationship, which is a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't
heard
expect
that. Like, I've always heard that advice. Like, don't lend to friends or family unless you don't expect it back, because it can just ruin the relationship, because they'll dodge you if they can't get it back, and then it's like the friendship's kind of strained. So it's like, I'm not a person to have millions of dollars to lend out in the first place, but
not yet.
But yeah, I mean that's a good thing. It's to set the expectations at the beginning. Like if you're going to give something, this is a gift. I'm not expecting this back. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart, and then what you're saying is the universe will essentially pay you back one way or another.
Yep. Yeah, and there's different ways of doing it. You have giving money, you have giving energy, you have giving time, you have giving value. There's different ways of giving, and just the more you give, the more you get.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things I'm trying to do with this podcast, is not only to build a network, sort of like manifest a mastermind, right, is I don't want just anybody on this podcast. I want someone with the drive, the energy, the goals, because when I bring someone on, especially at the beginning, I feel like I'm sort of investing in their career, right? Because I see something in you that's going somewhere. I see you with thousands, 100,000 subscribers, a course with tons of successful people, of students, and obviously just your crypto portfolio should probably speak for itself. But last quote, and I want to get into this one because I think it's probably the most relevant, is sales is the most beautiful thing in the world. So explain to us why that is. Because most people say, oh, he's a sales guy. Like he's some slime ball that's trying to sell me a sleazy product. But that's not really what sales is intended to be. So give us the rundown on why sales is the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yes. Yeah, I had massive limiting beliefs around sales before I started doing sales myself. So it's it's so common. So the way I kind of reframed it in my mind, there's actually the 9-figure guy that kind of really pushed this frame into the mastermind, because I was part of a mastermind. And the way he essentially put it is, sales is not sales. Sales is communication, and sales is leadership. Sales is leadership is the thing that really made it click. And he's like, when you truly understand what sales is, and you have an ethical background, and you have a high morality standard, and you actually want people to do well, all sales is influencing people to make the best possible decision for them. And sometimes that is pushing them away from you, like, hey, this is not the right time, please do not buy this, come back into the future when you're better off. So pure sales that comes from a leadership standpoint is just being influential and getting people to break their beliefs of what they think is possible, or what they think that life could be, or what they could be, and break it. Because sales is just the process of systematically breaking down beliefs so that people can make a decision from a more empowered version of themselves. So people like Tony Robbins is the best salesperson in the entire world, because sales is communication, and he's one of the best communicators alive.
100%.
That's the frame that really made it click for me. Sales is communication, sales is leadership. All sales is influencing somebody to make the best possible decision for them, and sometimes that is going out of their comfort zone. Often is.
Yeah, because if you're trying to sell them, like especially like a personal development product or something, like your product should basically fix every single one of their objections in their head, right? So when they're coming to you to better themselves or buy a product from you, your product should basically fix every objection in their head. That was like one of Alex's quotes, and I'm like, wow, like that's true. Like, why would you not put the work into your product to make it the best possible thing you could sell, to basically overcome every single, because they're coming to you with like a whole garden full of objections. Oh, I can't do this, it's too much money, or oh, I'm just I don't think I'll follow through on this. So you sell accountability. It's like, wow, he reverse engineered the prospect and basically developed his product to meet every single objection they had. So I thought that was like a big, huge shift in my head when I heard that. So I do believe the sales is the most beautiful thing in the world, and it doesn't have to be selling products you don't believe in, right? Like it should be a product that you have the conviction, because you're not going to want to sell something that you're kind of on the fence about, or they're not going to have the value, right? So I thought that was profound, to say the least.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Sure.
So there's one space I absolutely love, and that's the online education space, because almost all of the questions that you have, somebody else has the answer to. And you've probably seen this happen in real time, especially due to like the C thing. Like online education is exploding. People are tired of learning from people who have not done what they're teaching to do. Like professors are the perfect example of that. Mm-hmm. Colleges cost way too much. It's putting people in debt. It's crippling their future, literally, to give them something that is worth zero. And the whole like online education space, the way I kind of got framed into my mind, because I invest a lot into myself. I have so many coaches, so many masterminds I'm a part of, and it's the best thing I ever did for my entire life. And the way they kind of framed it to me was like, okay, you're not getting them to invest in you. You're not getting them to invest into the program, the coaching, the education, or whatever it might be. You're getting them to invest into themselves. You're getting them to draw a line in the sand and be like, okay, I'm actually going to put skin in the game, and this is where my life will change, period. So they're not investing in you, they're investing in themselves. They pay to pay attention. I like that a lot.
big time. I mean,
Yep.
everybody has deficiencies. And unless you're always building your own skills, your own discipline, I think discipline is, for me, like one of the hardest ones to master, because I've had so many periods of success, and for whatever reason, it gets hard, life gets busy, and you start taking a break, and that break turns into a vacation, and then sooner or later, you're looking down at your stomach and you're like, what the hell happened here? So it's like, that's where it starts. Like, it has to be almost like a habit that turns into an unconscious decision every single day. Like, this is non-negotiable. Like, if it's working out, or if it's diet, or if it's reading, or whatever it is, it has to be like non-negotiable. This is going to be part of my day no matter what, so that's something that I'm trying to master right now, and I've made a conscious decision to go down that path. And so, like, this channel is not only like sort of manifesting a mastermind, but it's also a discipline activity for me, because OutWork, it's in the name. I have to outwork my competition, right? So that's where we're going with this. So definitely
like the
big
name.
insights. Thank you. So I know most of your content, correct me if I'm wrong, is surrounded around crypto. And tell me, like, how you got into it, because quick story for me, I had a friend that was into the dark web. He was just, buying weed online through the Silk Road. And I was big into the libertarian space at the time. So I thought, what is this Bitcoin that you're using? So I looked into it and I was like, oh, wow. Like, this could change the game on finance. Like, at the time I was like, this could replace the dollar. Like, whoa. So I bought into it at like $100 and kept buying it and holding it. And I held it till it ran up to like 10,000. So I made a nice profit, but obviously I didn't hold. So, like, paper hands at the time. And so, looking back, obviously huge difference in mindset for that, because if you just held, I would be semi-retired right now. So, like, how did you get into crypto? What were some of your mistakes initially, or maybe misconceptions? Because there's so much crap and garbage, especially on YouTube, just trying to sell referral links and all that. So, like, how did you get into it? What was the groundbreaking moment that you were like, crypto?
Yes. So when I think the big realization that I had is all money is an illusion of value. We give the dollar value. It doesn't have any intrinsic value. So they print it out of thin air. It's just like, I think the one book that kind of did it for me is The Creatures from Jekyll Island. Once you kind of understand what the actual fiat system is and how it's the biggest scam ran ever in the entire world, you're kind of like, okay, this can never be the thing. Like, the thing that also made a click for me was like the Fed, which stands for Federal Reserve. So the Federal is not federal; it's a private company, and it doesn't have any reserves. The name is such a play on word. So understanding that the fiat system sucks, I also knew, because I ran businesses, that okay, and this really got insane after the C thing with the inflation. All of the money that you make in business, you put it into an account, you're like, I'm going to be a good citizen, I'm going to save all of my money. And then you see them completely devalue all of your savings into nothingness, like you work for nothing. So what did you work for then? So I'll give you an example. So the euro, for instance, I live in Europe. So the euro has lost 30 to 40% of its value against the dollar in the last year. And the dollar has been losing like 20 to 30% of its value also, because of all the inflation. So the euro is even more wrecked than the dollar, because it's getting wrecked against a devaluing dollar. So the business people, and also the people who have a normal job, they need to be able to store their monetary energy for all of the hours that they work, and they need to be able to build something for themselves and their family. So back in the day, saving was actually a thing for my grandparents and stuff like that, because they got like 4 to 8% on their savings account in the bank. That was an actual thing. So they were like getting like DeFi style yields in their bank accounts. So then you could save, and then houses were like 10 grand instead of like 500 grand. The inflation was not hitting that hard. The dollar still kind of had like a way of holding value. But nowadays, all of these things no longer make sense. Saving no longer makes sense. If you save, you grow poorer every year. essentially, I think like Ty Lopez was the one that said this, is money is just a scarce in demand asset. So the more scarce you can make an asset and the more in demand you can make an asset, the higher the price or the perceived price could go. Which Bitcoin, for instance, I don't invest in Bitcoin at all. I think it's completely at the top of the S-curve. There's no more gains to be had there. But like crypto in general, it's the simplest way to explain it to people, because almost everybody kind of understands the stock market and the S&P 500 and stuff like that. It's essentially programmable stocks. It's stocks where you can design the economics of within one specific stock. So it's programmable stocks, crypto, essentially. It's you can write in a piece of code what the economics of an actual asset are. So if you have a monetary system where people can decide on the inflation themselves, everything is extremely transparent, everything is on the blockchain, everybody knows exactly what is happening. I just kind of started realizing with crypto that with the history of it being the highest appreciating asset ever known to mankind, this was the future. It's the monetary system is getting wrecked in real time. The only way out is crypto. It's scarce in-demand assets. Crypto is the answer. You can do crypto from anywhere in the world. Crypto has been around for 13 years. It's not a new technology at all. It's been around for 13 years. It hasn't been banned. If it would have been banned, it would have been banned a while ago. So crypto is here to stay. And we're still early in the true crypto things. When you go deeper into crypto, you're not early in Bitcoin and Ethereum. You'll still make some decent gains in Ethereum, but everything else, like you have to be deep into crypto. And crypto has also this kind of like barrier of entry where you have to study it for at least 100 hours before you truly grasp it. And when you grasp it, you're like, okay, this is it. So real estate is not the answer, stocks are not the answer, saving is not the answer. In my opinion, the only answer is crypto. And I would consider myself a crypto bull. Because once you kind of look at all alternative options, you're like, this makes so much sense. This is the only way. Yep.
So I guess, for someone that, is just kind of seeing the stuff at the surface, like they see all the exit scams, they see all the, the bridges getting hacked and all these fake DeFi companies going bankrupt and all the trading companies that are over leveraged. I mean, it's just like totally scary, right? For like a no coiner to even want to touch it. So how do you sort of like tell people that, or how do you guide them into basically avoiding all these landmines? Because there's some people that I sort of respected on like the crypto Twitter and on YouTube that got wrecked. Like just, they got totally wrecked. So what are the principles that someone should follow to sort of do their own research, but what principles should they stand on in crypto?
Yep. That's a great question. So the first thing I kind of like telling everybody in crypto is you're only as good as crypto as your information sources. The places you get information from are going to be the answer on how good you're going to get in crypto. If you listen to mainstream influencer, you're going to get mainstream results. If you want average, okay, so the way you get good at crypto is by filtering your information sources. There's a hell of a lot of educators in crypto who don't even know what true crypto is. If you ask them, hey, do you know what an admin key is? They're like, oh, duh. It's so bad. So one, not your keys, not your coins. If you hold your coins on an exchange like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, etc., they're great for on-ramping and getting your money into crypto, but then please get your coins on your own wallet. Because what people don't realize is when you go into Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Binance, when you have your money there, it looks like your wallet, but in essence, it's in their wallet. It's in their bank account. That's another way of looking at it.
It's also in their terms of service, right? If they go bankrupt, you're a creditor. So
that's even scarier.
Get it off of there.
Exactly. So you have to be able to operate your own wallet, manage your own coins, have your own security set up, and then just listen to the right source of information. I highly recommend everybody look into Richard Hart. Watch his old live streams on crypto. That's the best crypto education, fundamental crypto education you will ever get in your entire life. I'm also a big believer that you should always seek out advice in whatever kind of area that you go in. If I start a business, I get a business mentor. If I go into martial arts, I get a coach, because you're not just going to start throwing punches out of nowhere. You kind of want to have some kind of guidance. And if you have the right information sources, on-ramping into crypto is not the hardest thing in the world. I think the hardest thing in the world is just finding the right information. That's the hardest struggle you have in crypto. And the best kind of way I found is just start looking at Richard Hart. Your fundamental knowledge of crypto is going to be so strong, and then you can kind of take it from there. And you can see through the forest at that point, because you know what's true crypto. No admin keys where people cannot shut down the actual coin. Not your keys, not your coins. Don't keep your coins on exchanges. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that you look at for tokenomics and stuff like that. But Richard Hart is a great start.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. Like, obviously, I got into Bitcoin early, but I didn't leverage it to its full potential, right? So I got in early and I sold off early. And I did parlay it into real estate because I thought that was the play. Crypto was getting boring after the 2017 crash. I was like, this is just boring. Bear markets are boring. I want to make some flip money. I want to make some quick cash. And it didn't work out horrible, but obviously just holding would have been so much better. So that was a huge lesson in my mind. I should have just held. Like, do the boring thing, just live your life and forget about it. And then in the long run, it's going to bounce back. There will be another bull run, and it probably won't, after the next bull run, probably won't crash down as hard or as far. So eventually over time, you're going to compound those gains, and you're going to have better returns than if you were chasing the shiny objects. So I got to say, my New Year's resolution, I think 2 years ago, was to just get back into crypto, because I saw DeFi coming on board and all these projects come. I was hearing things popping up, and I thought, okay, New Year's resolution, I'm going to get back into crypto, and I'm going to do the research. I'm going to, take the time. And it took me longer than expected, but I did find Richard Hart, and I found him as a guy who's giving credible technical information, and he wasn't selling anything. He's very adamant about that. He's like, I'm retired. I'm huge, he doesn't say, but probably a billionaire. And I don't have anything to sell you. I just want you to get rich too. And I want you to avoid all the scams. It's like, okay, like I like that. So, obviously he's got his own projects and he promotes his own projects, but you look at his projects, they're pretty good. So, I mean, that was sort of my road. I mean, I was a Bitcoin guy and then sold Bitcoin, and then I, kind of just fell off the map for a while. Now I'm back and I'm like, wow, crypto is pretty amazing. Like, it can propel you into places where you never thought was possible. So I don't know, talk about kind of the state of crypto. Where is crypto now on its roadmap in general? And then kind of what are some projects that you're interested in, and go from there.
Yep. So in general, the kind of philosophy that I'm operating by in crypto is this whole, I like calling it cash flow for life. Essentially what it is you put together a portfolio of assets where you get very strong entry points into the market, because that can make or break it. Because you can buy the right thing at the wrong time and still get wrecked if you don't understand cycles. But essentially, if you have a portfolio of highly appreciating assets, you have strong early entry points. Then the next thing becomes generating yield on those assets to fund your lifestyle. I'm a big believer in never selling your assets. The way the wealthy people would do it back in the day is they would invest all of their money into stock. So they would have business, sales, equity, whatever it might be, generate revenue. They would put that into a dividend stock portfolio, generate 3 to 5% a year. They would use that to fund their lifestyle, and then they would join private banking to take loans against the stock portfolio in order to make big purchases. People seem to forget in crypto that's how all of these millionaires and billionaires got to their lifestyles. You can do the same in crypto, just times 100 on steroids. So I'm a big believer in never selling assets, generating yield, using yield to fund lifestyle, and then taking loans against the asset to do bigger purchases. And loans against the asset is not even required. If you have a portfolio that is big enough, you can basically fund anything you want with yield. So to kind of get into the whole crypto thing, we're in a bear market, and like you said, it's extremely boring. But to me, this is where the excitement is. It's when everybody runs away, when everybody doesn't have anything to do, when everybody's kind of bored and running all over the place. That's when the best buying opportunities are. So I'm excited about the bear market. We've been in a bear market for roughly a year and a half-ish from the more technical top, which was back in May 2021. Historically, bear markets only last a year. This is a macroeconomical cycle. This is the first one that Bitcoin has gone through. So the drop historically has been 85%, which will bring it down to 11K, which is a target Richard Hart has been calling over and over again. Looks like it's going to get there. It always corrects. So when it breaks out of its parabola, it always corrects down 85%. That will bring it to 11K. Then you have the Fed raising interstage. You have the Mt. Gox coins unlocking who knows when. Should be soon. That's another a 1.5 billion-ish coming on the market, all for Bitcoin. Then you also have the Bitfinex coins of the Bitfinex hackers that got seized. That's another billion-ish of Bitcoin. Don't quote me on these numbers, but it's a lot. And then you also have Ross Ulbricht coins, the founder of Silk Road. I think the Department of Justice has those coins and they're looking to sell them as well. So there's 3 more big supply shock events coming in for Bitcoin. Then you have the Fed raising interest rates, which would stop close to end of year-ish, because I think their target is like 3.5%. So the moment interest rates stop rising, we see in the peak of inflation, and we see these 3 kind of supply shock events having passed, it's basically blue skies at that point. So I think we're getting close to some kind of market bottom, general market bottom. And then every crypto kind of has its own cycles and like catalysts and stuff like that. But I think I'm excited, man. Those are kind of the things I'm looking at. And then Richard Hart keeps focusing on like the GBTC discount, Grayscale Bitcoin, which is like at minus 35%, which means institutional players can buy Bitcoin for 35%, which does not push up minus 35%, which does not push up the Bitcoin price. So all institutional demand, if it comes in, goes there first and then into the Bitcoin. So as long as that is not back at like equilibrium, because historically it has traded at a premium of like 20% instead of a discount of 30%, then Richard keeps saying we're not back into the bull market, and I like it. So those are like the big things you're focusing on, but we've been in this bear market for a long time, man. And I think most of the things have corrected down 95%, and historically 95% corrections have been great buying opportunities as long as you have a long enough time frame.
Absolutely. I mean, if you talk to anybody who really made it in crypto, they're buying at the bottoms, either at the beginning of the project or just buying bottoms, and then they 10x, 100x, 1000x their money. So I mean, there is opportunities galore in crypto. It's just kind of finding the right ones and managing your risk accordingly. I mean, so like I said, I'm a huge fan of Richard Hart. He was the first guy who I felt was really authentic, and he wasn't trying to sell me anything. He'd already been a millionaire. He mined Bitcoin at like 50 cents. So he'd been in the game, but he also understood the technologies at a level I'd never heard anybody talk about. And, everybody's a big cheerleader for the protocol, but they fail to like look under their own hood and say, guys, we have all these problems. If you really want to be the world reserve currency, there's a whole bug list that needs to be like addressed. Like we can't just like cheer this thing to the finish line. So like, it's like, oh, okay, wow. I don't hear anybody talking bad about Bitcoin because most of these guys have big bags of Bitcoin, and I'm sure he does too. But he has no problem addressing the problems that exist. So I was like, groundbreaking. I've never heard anybody really talk like that. So he's willing to like down talk his own bag to really do better in the space. So I was just like, okay, I need to follow this guy. And that's how I got into some of his projects. So like full disclosure, I am a PulseX sacrificer. I didn't get in on the PulseChain sacrifice, but I did get in on the PulseX. So I'm super excited about those projects. For those people listening, might not have a clue, just research those. I mean, I think that's a good place to start. It's sort of like going to be a brand new sort of ecosystem built on existing platforms. So it's basically taking all the good things of all the other platforms that are good in crypto, massaging them to be better. So it's like at launch, I feel like it's probably going to be the best at the time. I mean, do you disagree with that?
I like it a lot. So the only way you can kind of protect yourself against the bear market, this is just general conceptual things. The only way you can protect yourself in a bear market is by going into things that are decorrelated from the market. And by definition, new projects cannot be correlated to the market because they haven't existed.
True.
And these usually create like these protection kind of bubbles with new projects. So the only way you can make money in bear markets is buying low, high and deep and long corrections and then having a long enough time frame, or getting in new things which are protected from the market and have like this protection bubble of being a new project. And they usually correlate after like 3 months ish. But at that point, we might be out of the bear market, and then it's just blue skies, baby.
That's right.
Yep.
So as far as like the bear market today, I mean, obviously we've got a lot going on outside of crypto, like not good stuff going on with sort of the real estate bubble, sort of the bond bubble, like lots of kind of scary things out there. But I mean, it feels like crypto crashes first and then gets up first. So do you see crypto sort of running up before the rest of the market in general recovers?
I'm not sure, actually. I think we're in a lucky position to be at the start of a new ecosystem with the stuff that we talked about. But I do think crypto is completely... when I say crypto, I mean Bitcoin. Bitcoin is completely correlated to the stock market. So usually you see like the Nasdaq go up first, and then Bitcoin follow, and then Ethereum follow. So the best way to kind of look at like these crypto plays is Bitcoin is a leverage play on the stock market, Ethereum is a leverage play on Bitcoin, and altcoins are a leverage play on Ethereum. So whatever, if the Nasdaq goes down or the stock market goes down, Bitcoin goes down, which means Ethereum goes down a little bit more, which means other altcoins go down a lot more against Ethereum, and that's kind of how you have to look at it. But then Richard was the one that kind of popularized this idea where volatility is the price you pay for the highest performing assets. So if you want it to go up 100x, you should be okay with it going down 70%, 80%, 90%. Crypto is like the only thing where it can just have mind-bending numbers. And you just have to accept like the asymmetrical upside downside is insane, and it just does not make sense, especially if you come from the stock market. You're like, because we talk about 10x, it's like, okay, 10x, 10x.
Just a sin.
If you say if you say that in the stock market, that's like a 50-year plan, and we say it in half a year. Right. It's insane.
It is. It's sort of hard for traditional investors to come into the space and see this stuff, but where there's volatility, there's a lot of opportunity. So take that to heart. I mean, obviously, some of this may be over the head of our listeners, but I do just encourage people to just do your own, get into it, actually do the research. It's not the most intuitive field to get in because you've got so many different people dragging you in all these different directions. But if you keep the principles of not your keys, not your crypto, you can sort out 95% of the noise, right? Because so many of these projects are controlled. They're kind of slapped together. It's more of a marketing play. So I mean, if you just have a set of principles and see everything through this lens, you can just really filter out all the noise. And obviously finding the right people that you trust as a mentor, as information, goes a long way. So I feel like I finally found the right crowd in the crypto space, because I'd bounce around all these idiots, and I was just I could almost see that they're just lying to me, trying to sell me and a pump and dump or something. So I'm just this is exhausting. And then to find Richard Hart, and then he's created a whole army of influencers that have the same sort of principles. So a lot of good stuff out there. For those who don't know, the projects are Hex is probably the staple. It was the launch point of a lot of these other projects, like PulseChain, which is coming, and PulseX, which is coming. He's basically cloning Ethereum. He's going to fork Ethereum, and so he's going to make a copy of it. So if you have any Ethereum coins, it's going to be on the new PulseChain. So it's going to be a better, improved proof of stake versus proof of work version of Ethereum, in short. But again, I don't want to get in the weeds. I just want to talk about crypto sort of in general. But I mean, what are you doing on YouTube, and what are you doing on Twitter? Because you've started sort of from nothing, and you've built up an audience already so quickly. I know you're putting in a lot of work behind the webcam, and you're talking to me, and you're talking to a lot of other people. Just always having a really good information and always good conversations with, some of the right people. So how did you decide to just jump into the content creation, and where is this going for you?
Yep. So it's kind of funny. I kind of hit the semi-retired mark, and then I traveled the world for a year and a half, and all I did was train, date, and learn. That's all I did. And man, it gets so empty. It gets so empty because I'm used to building stuff and being busy and actually doing stuff. And as a man, you need some kind of form of conquest in your life, otherwise you get very depressed. And I had a first-hand experience with that, because I kind of got to this point where financially I was generating enough yield where I didn't have to work if I wanted to, and then the appreciation of my portfolio would well take care of me. And I just got very empty, man. And at that point I was okay, I need to build something again. And then the logical conclusions kind of came. Okay, I'm doing this crypto thing, I'm learning about it 12 hours a day. I might as well build something around it, because I'm doing this anyway. I would do it for free. And that's where this whole idea came. I started the YouTube channel, I started sharing ideas, and people seemed to really like it. I grew to 13k-ish followers on Twitter in 5-ish months, which is pretty crazy apparently. But hey, I mean, I say I had a marketing agency, so I might as well know how to do marketing. It would be kind of weird if I didn't know how to do it. I just enjoy the YouTube. I finally have a place to share, because I would talk to my friends And they're like, dude, you need to shut up about crypto. But like, I cannot. I need to offend somewhere, you know? And that's why I started the YouTube channel. People seem to really like it. And because I'm a businessman, I'm building a business around it. I'm building a mastermind. People really, really enjoy it. Like, one crazy statistic is like there's over $100 million of net worth in the mastermind already after 2 months.
Wow.
That's not generated. That's just like actual like money, net worth of the people inside of the mastermind. Which was a crazy statistic because I was like calculating, collecting a couple of things. I'm like, yo, I'm 100% using this for marketing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's an amazing stat.
Yep. So yeah, I just started doing
Awesome.
this because I started enjoying it, and now I'm building a business around it because otherwise I get bored, you know?
For sure. And I mean, yeah, so that's where I found you, was I think on Twitter. And you had some clips that you'd share. I was like, I'm going to go check this guy on YouTube. And, you know, obviously we share the same sort of crypto mindset, I guess you can call it. Same circles. And so you're popping up on all my channels, right, that I follow. So I'm like, okay, I got to talk to this guy. And, you know, you're gracious enough to accept. I mean, obviously we have nothing really here to show. You're our first interview on the channel. I think it's been an amazing success. You share so much of the principles that I want to bring to people. You know, that discipline, that, you know, never give up attitude, or, you know, if you get knocked down physically, literally, you get back up and you get stronger, right? That's the only way to learn. So, Jake, I appreciate your time. I know it's precious. But tell us, send us off with some, you know, parting words and how we can find you. And, you know, we're early in you, I know, because I see your YouTube channel taking off.
Yeah, and I have some plans in the crypto space that I'm like kind of doing into the future as well. So just kind of go to Jake Sharpe YouTube channel. You'll find me. That's where I post most of my stuff. And then on Twitter, it's just go to the description of my YouTube. You'll find me. It's NK Inkay Knows, like Knows. NK is kind of my alter ego. I should change it to Jake Sharpe, but whatever. That's what it is now. Yeah, that's where to find me. And I'm parting words. Build masculinity, build discipline, build a high cash flow business with high net margins, and shovel it all into crypto, and then thank me 5 years later when things are going to be very well off. Not financial advice, obviously. I'm retarded.
Never financial advice on this channel. Yep. But again, we appreciate your insights. I do think you're going to be springboarded. You're investing in yourself in the bear market. So when that bull comes around, we'll be on for the ride.
Hell
Take care, Jake. Thank you very much.
You too.